Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. In general, this show focuses more on the technology advancements of artificial intelligence, as well as their practical applications, how they impact business, how they're changing the work we do. But for anyone paying close attention, there is unavoidably a geopolitical undercurrent of artificial intelligence as well. AI has become one of the key fronts in the jostling for power between the United States and China, and is impacting not only the policy between these two countries relative to one another, but also a huge amount about how their allies interact as well. One only has to look at, for example, our policy in the Middle East and the Gulf states to understand that AI and AI supremacy are shaping a huge amount of policy even beyond just chip exports. Over the weekend, we got a bit of an escalation in this battle, as China is blocking its AI leaders from visiting the US. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Beijing has instructed top AI researchers and entrepreneurs to avoid traveling to the United States. There's a concern that Chinese scientists could hand over confidential information about the nation's progress on AI, or that we could even see a repeat of the 2019 incident where a Huawei executive was detained in Canada at Washington's request. Importantly, this isn't a strict travel ban, but in China, a stern warning to stick close to state interests might as well be. It certainly suggests that Beijing is increasingly viewing AI as an economic and national security priority, and is willing to put policy into place to match. Now, the effects of the policy are already showing up. DeepSeek's founder Liang Wengang was a notable absentee at the AI Action Summit in Paris last month. Xiaomeng Liu, a technology analyst at Eurasia Group, believes that Beijing is worried about losing their best and brightest, commenting, "For the tech sector, brain drain can have a devastating effect on a country. The initial signal is, stay here, don't run away." Interestingly, if any of you listened to Palmer Luckey on the Sean Ryan show recently, the Underworld founder has been loudly advocating the return of defector visas. Basically, visas that are not only about attracting talented labor from other countries, but which as a requirement also hurt the countries of origin, taking those skills out. In any case, if you connect the dots with China policy, you can definitely see the start of a new bargain being built between the political and tech class. President Xi Jinping attended a symposium with tech leaders in February, which included formerly blacklisted Alibaba founder Jack Ma. This is significant because a few years ago, when Ant Financial was set to go public in what would have likely been the biggest IPO in history, China stepped in, killed the IPO, and Jack Ma was barely heard from for the next couple of years, other than a few token appearances to let people know that he wasn't dead. Now, at this February event, President Xi shook hands with Ma, signaling certainly a thawing of relations with the assembled CEOs. Feng Chucheng, founding partner of Beijing advisory firm Hutong Research, said that this was a, quote, strong gesture to tell the market and hesitant local officials that these are our champions and we need to unwaveringly support in light of all the risks. Feng added, with many of these entrepreneurs having significant stakes in the US, Beijing needs a united front also to prevent major capital flight. The news also comes as Chinese investment picks up in the wake of DeepSeek. Smartphone maker Honor has announced a $10 billion R&D budget over the next 5 years. The former Huawei division is also planning to go public in the near future. Reuters reports that AI companies like Honor are seeing interest from local governments in a way that wouldn't have been possible as recently as last year. Last week, Alibaba announced plans to spend $53 billion on AI data centers over the next 3 years. This would be a record spend for the Chinese AI sector and significantly outpaced analyst forecasts. Both Tencent and Alibaba now have models that they claim outperform DeepSeek's R1, while DeepSeek themselves are gearing up to launch their R2 model in May. Quick detour into DeepSeek land for a minute. The company also made a ton of news this weekend when they claimed a 545% profit margin while serving some of the cheapest inference in the industry. The Chinese lab released the code for their inference system so other labs can replicate their results, with Didi Das of Menlo Ventures writing, DeepSeek just let the world know they make $200 million per year at a 500+% profit margin. Revenue per day, $562,000. Cost per day, $87,000. Revenue per year, around $205 million. This is all while charging 2.19 per million tokens on R1, around 25x less than OpenAI O1. If this was in the US, this would be a $10 billion company. Now, lest we get totally lost in the hype here, there is a lot of fudging being done with the numbers. DeepSeek were assuming that all tokens were charged at their full R1 pricing, rather than the various discounts currently applied. Indeed, they even admitted, quote, our actual revenue is substantially lower. Still, these figures do suggest that there's a lot of room for cheaper AI. Ben Buchanan wrote, in case anyone is wondering, this represents a 255x improvement in cost per token since the launch of the original ChatGPT. Yes, this is exactly what a fast takeoff looks like. DeepSeek seemed to largely be achieving this through optimizing their GPU use. The team wrote code to access their inference cluster at a lower level, bypassing CUDA and unlocking more efficiency. DeepSeek's claimed optimization of underpowered H800 chips was even a close match to NVIDIA's optimization for the Blackwell B200 chip. Developer Nar wrote, Dumb question, but how did no one realize we were underutilizing GPUs before DeepSeek showed it to us? It's so unbelievable. This is going to be a really interesting question to watch, as it has big implications for all of those concerns that GPU capacity in the US is dramatically overbuilt. In any case, the DeepSeek model is clearly having an influence. The Financial Times this weekend wrote about how companies are racing to use distillation processes in the wake of DeepSeek's results. Some are arguing that the implication is that the future of frontier AI in the US needs to be open source. Jared Dunmon, a former AI director at the Pentagon, wrote in Foreign Affairs that, quote, "Clearly the United States can no longer rely solely on closed AI systems from big companies to compete with China, and the US government must do more to support open source models even as it strives to limit Chinese access to cutting-edge chip technologies and training data. To continue its dominance, the United States should mount a comprehensive program to develop and deploy the best open source LLMs, while also ensuring that US firms are still the ones building the most capable AI models. Those that are still likely to reside within highly capitalized private companies." Dunman commented that, "An unfortunate side effect of DeepSeek's massive growth is that it could give China the power to embed widely used generative AI models with the values of the Chinese Communist Party." He suggested that the potential influence of Chinese AI could be even more powerful than TikTok. This, of course, has been one of the central ideas coming from the Trump administration, that the US needs to present a viable option to the world so Chinese AI isn't seen as the global default. Still, while Chinese and US AI industries grow apart, some diplomats are urging collaboration on risk. China's ambassador to the US, Xi Feng, called for closer cooperation on AI. He said, "As the new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial transformation is unfolding, what we need is not a technological blockade, but deep seeking, quote unquote, for human progress." Feng urged the two global superpowers to jointly promote global AI governance, warning, "Emerging high technology like AI could open Pandora's box. If left unchecked, it could bring gray rhinos." Gray rhinos here refers to easily foreseeable risks that people ignore until they become a crisis. And the rhetoric around concern over those gray rhinos is ratcheting up as well. Writing for Brookings last week, Director of Research Michael O'Hanlon even went so far as to suggest that unchecked AI could trigger a nuclear war. He asserted, "By examining several cases from the US-Soviet rivalry during the Cold War, one can see what might have happened if AI had existed back in that period and had been trusted with the job of deciding to launch nuclear weapons or to preempt an anticipated nuclear attack, and had been wrong in its decision-making." Now, one note is that when it comes to the Overton window right now, I have seen literally zero suggestion from anyone that AI ever have access to the nuclear codes. In fact, this is maybe the one thing that everyone can agree on is absolutely not a thing that should ever happen. And so what we have here is this incredibly complex melange of political issues, economic issues. Remember last week we talked about how Microsoft was advocating for the Trump administration to take down export controls, saying that they weren't working. And even if that isn't the play, others like Rand are also arguing that DeepSeek conclusively says that chip controls have failed to slow down China by too much, and that at the very least they need to be recalibrated for an inference-centric world. What all of this adds up to is that the closer that these models get in terms of capabilities, the more the focus on the soft power battle that AI represents comes into focus. The speed at which AI is developing is stretching all of our capabilities across business and technology. So I guess why should geopolitics be any different? Anyways, friends, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening as always. And until next time, peace